The meeting today is concerned, I am very happy to see our good old friend Jeff Bohr, who has been with our organization longer than I believe he's been there forever. And we missed him this year in our class program for some personal reason, but I'm very happy to see you back, Jeff. And
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to a fantastic presentation on a subject that I think is very interesting, the migration of apps purchased through the Apple App Store. With
Absolutely.
that, I like Mike to make a few announcements, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Eckhart.
Can you please mute everyone before you start?
Yes.
And thank you.
Just unmute and share my screen for a moment. Well, hi everybody. A bit of a dramatic start to the meeting. I hope everything sorts out, and I hope lots of people join us over the next few minutes. Just a handful of announcements as usual. First of all, I've been saying this at the last meeting or two, but we're so grateful for you coming along to these meetings. We're so grateful to you actually being a busy, active member of NMUG. And without you guys, we would, of course, be nothing. We're very keen to see the membership grow a bit this year if we can. And one of the, I hope, easiest ways for that to happen would be if we could share the information about NMUG with our friends. So if you know anybody, family or friends that might be interested in joining us, please do spread the word and tell them what an amazing group this is and what a bargain membership is. Heads up on a special meeting coming up next month. Terry White is a kind of Adobe superstar. He's an Adobe evangelist and one of the kind of very forward-facing staff members of Adobe. Very busy website and YouTube channel, and he's going to be talking about Photoshop on the iPhone. And you may think, oh, not Photoshop, that's too complicated. It's been completely rewritten for the iPhone. And the most extraordinary thing of all is it's completely free. So I think for all of us, this is probably a meeting that is absolutely not to be missed. So that's April 23rd. So please put that in your diaries. Christian's back next week, so I need to keep an eye on my wallet because he always gets me spending money. This time he's talking about the macOS Finder, so I should be safe. But really look forward to his meeting. He always introduces me to information I'd not previously met. So that's Secrets of the Mac OS Finder. Same time, same place next Wednesday. With that, I will just stop my share and pass the meeting over to Sheeta, and she will introduce Jeff. Thank you.
Right.
All yours, Sheeta. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to say, Mike, no, your wallet is not safe. I know a couple of things. Your wallet definitely is not safe.
Oh dear.
All right. All right. And with that, I want to say that it has been a little over maybe a year since we saw Jeff. No, not a year, maybe 6 months. But we miss him. We love him. We're happy to have him back. And with that, he's going to touch on a subject that has been consternation to many of us for several years now. So what we'd like to do is get into the what, the whys, and the how, and Jeff is going to show us. And with that, we're going to welcome back Jeff Bohr. And Jeff, thank you for joining us again. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Sheeta. It's great to be back. So let me share my screen here and let's see. Oh wait, I wasn't signed into Zoom. Now I'm having technical errors. I had the link up. I got in the meeting with the link, but it's asking me to sign in before I can share my screen. So one moment.
You don't have to do that. Just
I don't. Okay.
Just dismiss it, and you'll.
Okay.
Okay.
I dismissed it. Okay, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share. Okay, so here we are. So on February 11th of this year, so just about 6 weeks ago, Apple quietly posted an update to their news and press release page that was talking about how to migrate purchases from one app account to another Apple account. So that is what we're going to cover today, because this, as Sheeta said, there's been a lot of issues with this where you have two different accounts for Apple. And, one is for iCloud and syncing, and the other is for purchases, and it becomes a nightmare with passwords and such. So a little bit about me for those that you haven't met me before, but I've been using Apple since 1986. I've never owned a PC. I turned a hobby into a job 21 years ago in 2004 and quit my day job and started doing Apple support full time. So I stay certified with Apple, and I have clients in Naples, as well as I've got people in Texas and Colorado I've never set eyes on, but now that remote support is so easy to do, if you need help wherever you are, I can log in and see your screen and provide assistance. So this is a note that came out on Stephen Hacken's website, 512pixels.com, which, if you're not familiar with, has a lot of good Apple information on it. But on February 11th, he provided a link to Apple's support article that said if an Apple account is only used for making purchases, those purchases can be migrated to a primary Apple account to consolidate them. So this is a big thing, and Stephen Hackett had been trying to do this for years, and he had been through a lot of trials and tribulations trying to do this on his own. So if you want to read the links are at 512pixels.com, but he was very excited about this. So basically, you'll be able to migrate purchases from one Apple account to another Apple account. So if an Apple account is only used for making purchases, those purchases can be migrated to a primary Apple account to consolidate them. One thing you'll notice here too is that they're now referring to the old Apple ID as just Apple account, which makes more sense because Apple ID, I think, was very confusing for most people. So Apple ID has now been renamed Apple account, and that's what they're referring to it as now. So if you're a little confused about what might be your primary Apple account, when you go to your device, this is a screenshot from my MacBook Pro. And when you go to the Apple account at the top, and then you look at the name and email that are visible there at the top, like it's circled here. So my name and my email are both there. That is my primary Apple account. And then if you go down underneath that, you'll see an option that says payment and shipping. And this is very similar to what you'll see on iOS and iPad OS. So this shows an example of a secondary Apple account for purchases. In this case, mine are both the same. But under your account information, your Apple account summary, if you see a different email listed here under the Purchases tab, this new policy may make your life a little easier. So this is basically where you can look to see if your primary and secondary Apple account logins are the same. So your primary Apple account is on the main Apple account page in System Settings or iOS Settings. Your secondary account is listed under the Payment and Shipping tab. So if you do see those and they're separate, this presentation will help you learn how and when you may want to combine them. And I'm also going to cover some of the caveats of things that could go wrong when you're doing this process. So as with any process, especially if you've had two different kind of Apple accounts for years, you can imagine there may be some hiccups when you merge them. And we're going to cover that as well, because some people have already found that there are hiccups. So I will review those as well. So if your primary Apple account and purchasing account are different emails, this new policy may help you. So on the pictures that you're looking at from my account, I've always had the same for both, but if you have separate emails here, a lot of people might have a me.com or an iCloud or a mac.com for their primary, and then they might have a Gmail or something as their secondary because they've had that account longer and that's what they were always using. But for a while there, like in iOS 7 and 8, maybe 2014, 2015, Apple was kind of forcing people to create a me.com email when they signed into an iPhone or iPad for the first time. And so a lot of people have different emails going on because they might have had to create an iCloud email due to Apple's old policy that's no longer in effect, but they still have both accounts. So a lot of times that's where this happened. So Apple has released extensive support articles about this process, and I'm going to review those here so that we can cover all the information that Apple's published about this. So first of all, Apple put this video up. Let's see here. Let me get about migrating Apple purchases between accounts. So learn about what purchases and associated content can be migrated between both accounts. Let me go to play. And then one moment here, let me get the video screen. So why you might migrate purchases. So you can choose to migrate apps, music, and other content you've purchased from Apple on a secondary Apple account to a primary Apple account. So the first Apple account might be an account that's used only for purchases. And you also have access to the primary email or phone number and password to both accounts. Neither account should be shared with anyone else. Like anything else, passwords and accounts are like underwear. You want to keep them to yourself and do not share them. So this is going to talk about how to migrate these purchases. So at the time of migration, the Apple account signed in for use with iCloud features on your iPhone or iPad will be referred to as the primary Apple account. So that's the one we saw on the prior screen that showed under the Apple account at the top of system settings on any device. That is your primary Apple account. And then the account used for media and purchases will be referred to as the secondary Apple account. So if you can't migrate purchases, then if your Apple account is locked or disabled. So if your Apple account was locked or disabled because of a password issue or you forgot your password or something, you won't be able to do this process while the account is locked. So you would have to lock it out. You'd have to unlock it before you were able to migrate anything. And then any special apps or access like a test flight or you're testing beta versions, you wouldn't be able to migrate those purchases to your primary Apple account. So if you're involved with any special programs through Apple with special access to apps or test flight, that could throw a wrench in this. So you'd have to remove apps from test flight testing before you migrated that secondary account into a primary account if you were using test flight, for example. So if you're not familiar with test flight is ways that app developers can release a version of an app that's not out to the public yet, but kind of in a test flight thing where you might be invited or you might see a link on a website where you can test an app and report bugs before they release it to the public. So if you're doing that kind of thing, you want to be sure to sign out of your test flight account before you try to merge it. So what happens when you migrate from one account to another? So all payment methods associated with your secondary Apple account will then default to your primary Apple account. So these replace any payment methods you had on the primary Apple account. So previous purchases of apps, music, movies, TV shows, and books will merge to the primary Apple account, but some might not. So you have to learn how to re-download, and I'm going to show you that apps that were under that account. And subscriptions you're currently subscribed to on your secondary Apple account will not migrate to your primary. So subscriptions have to be canceled and restarted under your primary. So the secondary Apple account's music library data, personalization profile, and Apple Music Replay will migrate to the primary Apple account. If you don't have a music library on your secondary Apple account, nothing will change. The secondary Apple account's Up Next queue in the Apple TV app will replace the Up Next queue of the primary Apple account. And the secondary Apple account's podcast library in the Apple Podcast will migrate and replace the podcast